Well, I'm joined again by Linda Smith, our abundance coach, and coaching me on my financial well-being. And I can tell you this much, that it is going really well. Linda, a very warm welcome, and thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you. Great to be back with you again.
Okay, great. So what we've done last week, we looked at card versus cash and how we should actually draw money out and use the cash versus using the card, because in that way we'll be less likely to overspend. And I must say that that practice definitely makes a difference. When I'm walking around with my credit card or my debit card, I'm less or more easily I'll be spending and going into the shop. When I have their hard cash on me, I find it a lot more difficult to spend that money. So in a way, I'm holding on to my money a lot longer when I have the cash in my wallet versus when I have my card. So I definitely think that that lesson has bared some fruits for me.
Great. Well, that's wonderful to hear, and you're exactly right. It's that awareness that shifts. And when the money is there, it's there. But when it's gone, and that's also okay, because you know that there's more next week.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So what is the lesson for today?
Okay, so today's lesson is about creating freedom around your debt. So it's your debt freedom plan. And for many people today, they've got various debts or accounts and bills to pay, over and above their usual month-end expenses. And so while this becomes a very burdensome way to operate, there is a way out, and that's what I want to share with your listeners this evening, just to illustrate how in creating a plan and creating or following up with the actions, you can bring another level of peace of mind to your finances, and even while you have got debt. So in this exercise, or the lesson tonight, is the first step that I'd like your listeners to take would be to make a list of all their debt, but to list it from the biggest to the smallest debt. And there is a document that you can download from our website, which is lindiary.com, and it's called the Debt Freedom Plan. And using this document, you can list the name of who you owe the money to, the full amount, and what the monthly repayment is. And the goal here is to, well, on the one hand, in just drafting this document, you're now going to have clarity as to where you are and what you're wanting to achieve. The next action to take will be to look at doubling up the payment on the smallest debt that's due. So, for example, if your smallest debt is, say, 200 Rand, you might decide to increase that to 400, and thereby you accelerating the repayment period, and you're settling that debt sooner. Once that has been accomplished, of course, the next step is to take that 400 and apply it to the next smallest debt. So basically you end up what they call snowballing the debt. One debt completion means the next one can be taken on and accelerated. The payment can be accelerated. So your goal is to ultimately pay off the debt as soon as possible. And there's another benefit in doing this exercise, because the moment you've created this plan, just with a few calculations and numbers, you can probably estimate roughly the date by when all the debt will be paid off if the plan is followed through. And so you've really got your debt payment plan in place, and you know that by a certain date, that debt is settled. So again, because of the fact that you're dealing again with numbers, this is a very, these numbers are measurable, and therefore they can be managed and tracked. And there's a real celebration in taking this action, because you can start to get excited about seeing the numbers reducing. And as they are, it's also that knowledge of knowing that that money that was now going to debt will ultimately be able to be redirected towards your savings.
Okay, so say, for example, I had 4 different accounts that needed to be settled on my list. I've settled the smallest account first. Do I use that money towards the next account that needs to be paid off, or do I use that spare money now on additional saving?
Well, the goal in this instance would be to apply to the next debt. Not to say that you should not still maintain a saving plan and have a saving plan even if you are paying off debt. That is very important. But in this instance, that amount of money that you have now no longer need for a particular debt that's now been paid off, you would then apply it to the next smallest, so that you are focusing fully, and this entire exercise is focusing fully on taking care of the next account on your list. And by sticking to this plan, this is, well, that's really the simplicity of it. By creating the plan to begin with on paper and by sticking with it, you are now able to see your debt slowly over time coming to an end. That is, having said that, well, on the basis that you're no longer using your credit card or incurring other debts.
Okay, so the idea is to get rid of debt, not make more debt. Does a mortgage plan and car loan also constitute debt, or does it stand for this debt as well?
Well, in this instance, while your mortgage on your home and your car is also effectively debt, in this instance we're talking about more the shorter term type of debt, like credit cards, store cards, the other types of debt that have usually a much higher interest rate. Obviously, once you have paid off these debts, it is a very good idea to accelerate both a car payment and most especially a house payment. If you can pay extra into your bond, always a good idea.
Okay, fantastic. So for me, I have at least less than 5 months left on my car payment. It will be be paid finished. And what we normally do is once the car's paid finished, we start looking at where can I find my new car? Where can I buy the next car? Is that something advisable, or what should one do in that instance?
Well, again, it's going to be a decision based on what is going to be the most important to you. What are you going to value more? Are you going to value the monthly payment that you now would no longer be making towards the car? Should in and of itself be absolutely allocated towards savings if you're in a transitional stage and you haven't made a decision yet. So you want to then reallocate that money into a savings plan, because now it's no longer being paid towards that car. So you don't want it just to disappear into other expenses, which it will do if you're not very clear and definitive about it. It can, as you say, occur as a stress and a burden. And by creating this debt freedom plan for yourself, the idea is it's an access to setting yourself free from the burden, because by creating the plan and by honoring the plan, and of course that's very important, you now know that every month that goes by, you're moving closer towards being debt free. And ultimately that total amount that you've been paying towards your debt repayments will ultimately be going towards savings. So you're setting the stage or the precedent to increase your assets, increase your wealth, and really then get your money to work for you, which is another goal to have.
Fantastic. I like the fact that my money can work for me. I think a couple of months back, that was the first realization that I had, that I shouldn't be working for my money should work for me. Linda, thank you for the debt-free plan. Anything else that you want to add to this before we round this lesson off?
Well, just to add that the Debt Freedom Plan document, it's downloadable again from the website, lindiary.com, as well as the other products we have available, which is the diary and the Abundance Diary and the Abundance Journal. And if you'd like to know about our workshops that we're running in Cape Town, you're welcome to send me an email and also have a look at the new iPhone budgeting application.
And you can find all that information on lindiary.com. You can also go to leilabenelli.com and get my lessons that I've done and all the feedback that I've given on what the insights that I've received and what I've done. Fantastic, Linda, being with you as always. Look forward to seeing you next week, and let's see what this week delivers.
Wonderful. Thanks very much.